Morning, everyone. So today I wanted to talk about the basics. The basics, sometimes as we've been doing this a long time, we step away from. And before you go back to the basics, there is something you really need to ask yourself. And I was given a screenshot of a pamphlet. So I didn't make it, I haven't had time, but you can feel free to make it for yourself. But this is for you. You have to kind of assess what is and is not working, because if it's not working for you, so you have to forgive me, it's on a Adobe Photoshop, which is my favorite photography print editing tool. But what is working? So you take these as a self-assessment. You can do this with your team. You can do this with yourself. Investigate what happened, what health insurance and open enrollment, what isn't and is working. Are there causes of a problem? Figure out what is going on with you. What worked last year for open enrollment? What's worked this year? More importantly, what has not worked, right? If you were banging your head against the wall all summer because nothing was happening, well, then something was probably not working. Take a self-assessment, do a speculative one. Can we do this differently? Can we simplify? One of the things I've been doing with some business coaching and stuff is make it simple, simple, simple. The more complicated you make it, the harder it is to know if it's working or not. Simple. That's partly why it's back to the basics. When we had Steven Weinberger on 2 weeks ago, he went back to the basics of somebody walks in his office and he says, "Do I have permission, basically, to tell you all the options? Is that okay?" And they'll gonna say yes. That's why they're in your office. That's why they're on the phone. That's why they're on a Zoom call. They want the options. That's pretty simple. Can I show you all the options that go with the health insurance to protect you? You're just showing them. Productive. What is the next step? What do we need to achieve before taking it? Do we have enough to proceed? Are we ready to decide? Again, this could be in your team, or you can do this for yourself. How am I going to do this? You need to do some self-reflecting on what's worked, what has not worked. Interpretive. What did we learn? What does it mean for our past, our future? Does this fit with our goals? Do you have goals? Is your goal to bring in 100 people this open enrollment? Is your goal to bring in 1,000? Well, are you overreaching? Is everything in a line to reach those goals? And then subjective. How do you feel about this decision? Which you can even talk about the outside stuff, like the Humanas and the Anthem Blue Cross and the WellCare that are like, we're not going to pay commissions. What concerns you? And where should you go to maybe consult with somebody and see, is this going to work for you? Is this something that you need to be concerned of or not? So do some self-assessment. There's a ton of them out there too. This was just one that I thought was really interesting. There's a ton. Do some self-assessments of your personal business, because this is going to help you line up what you need to do for open enrollment. Line up for what you need for next year. And if you haven't done a self-assessment, I highly recommend you do. Because if you don't know where you're going, how do you know when you got there, right? And I just want to have $1 million isn't really a goal. So the second thing I wanted to talk about was the fact finding, just your basics. So I'm going to show you quickly. Many of you have seen this from previous ones, but here is our fact finding sheet. It's actually just, it's not really a fact find. It's just your basic intake form, right? Name, last name, date of birth, if anyone's smoking, address, adjusted gross income. We kind of have this just generic box, and then we have the more filled out one. It's ironic how many times that does not match. They'll put 50,000 on this thing, and on the backside it's 75 or something. But that's why you never want to have just their generalized idea, because when they actually have to put it out, you get the true numbers. But, can we text you? Names of dependents, do they prefer email? So this is just a very basic intake form. And who we thank you. We always ask that, and the receptionist, as soon as they see a name on there, we have a postcard. We immediately write a postcard to that person saying thank you. Um, and then we've got, your things. Would you like more to know about dental, vision, life insurance, HSA plans, traveler's insurance, long-term care, critical illness, and accident coverage? Now, there's nothing wrong with this form, especially if you use this stuff down here at the bottom. If somebody says they want accident insurance, well, then you need to tell them about accident insurance. If they talk about traveler's insurance, you go, oh, are you traveling? Where are you going? Which is a great conversation to have. But I think sometimes we get so focused on health that we forget to ask these other questions. So I went out on the World Wide Web to just see what was out there. And I found some different ones. Ironically, a lot of Medicare ones, right? There's a lot of Medicare ones that I don't know if it's because they've been around a long time, but Medicare has a ton, Medicare companies have a ton of fact-finding reviews. So I'm going to show you two that I found that seem pretty good. Let me share. So this is a nationwide financial. So it's got your participant's name, partner, age, current retirement age. But they've got this right here. This is what I like, this assessment questionnaire. And was thinking, this might be something we hand somebody when they're in the lobby. I don't want to give them so much information before they come see me that they're like, but this is a really quick. Are you diagnosed with high blood pressure, cholesterol, type 1, type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, cancer, multiple sclerosis? And then is there family history of diabetes? Dependent cane on a wheelchair, walker, tobacco use. So again, this one's a healthcare assessment. And it's really at the bottom, they start talking about financial and then Medicare. But this section in the middle, what would you do with that information if they told you they were diagnosed with high blood pressure, had type 1 diabetes, and diagnosed with cancer? Versus somebody who checked no on all those. You're going to do it differently. You're going to talk to them differently. Oh, you've been diagnosed with cancer. It looks like it was 3 years ago. I bet you that was rough. I do have a guaranteed cancer policy that you can get if that comes back, if you're interested, to help protect you from financial, if in future, or your spouse. People that have dealt with cancer in their family understand how much it costs. And if you offer that to them, they usually want that for someone else. So we do have guaranteed policies. United Healthcare has guaranteed policies, and Allstate has guaranteed policies. Now, they don't cover the current, if somebody's currently going through treatment, they're not going to cover that currently. But they will cover somebody who had it 3 years ago, versus cancer is usually a 5-year cutoff. If somebody's had cancer for 5 years ago and they're clean, then they can get on a policy. Heart attack typically is 10 years. So you can get guaranteed issue from United Healthcare, and from on United Healthcare, it's on the accident policy. The critical illness policy is an add-on as a guarantee, and Allstate has a guarantee. So, and I know there's a couple others out there, but if you get this information, oh, they just have blood pressure and type 1 diabetes. Well, that means the short term isn't an option for them, because diabetes is a knockout question. This will give you information on where to go. The other one that I liked, this one I was like, wow. Now again, this one said Medicare review, but I like this one. Are you a veteran? Well, if they are, then you need to ask them if they have VA coverage, right? That might kick them right out. Now, I don't need to ask if they have Medicare, because that's not what I'm working on. But are you on Medicaid? Are you taking advantage of your annual wellness visit? Well, we can put that on there, yes or no. Have they done their annual? then you can go, you know what? The number one preventative of critical illness is going to your annual. Special life events. Are you getting ready to move? All right. Chronic conditions, cancer, heart, stroke, bone, lung, diabetes, just a little check that they can put in there. Are you happy? Now, this is with your Medicare plan. Are you happy with your current insurance? What did you like about it? What did you dislike about it? Now, sometimes there's nothing. What did I like about it? Well, I could go anywhere I want. What did you dislike about it? I had to pay things when I went where places, right? You will get some of that same complaint. Oh, I wish the insurance just paid for everything. Or they tell you, yeah, there's this one medication that's kind of new, but this insurance won't cover it. They're going to tell you things that they're not going to tell you if you don't ask these questions. When was the last time you had an agent? That's really more of a Medicare thing. Are you still working? Are you retired? Now, this one says, are your out-of-pocket expenses a concern? Now, their out-of-pocket's a little bit smaller. Do you know how your max out-of-pocket works? Do you know how most people do not know the difference between a deductible and a max out-of-pocket? So go ahead and ask them. Would you be interested in eliminating any out-of-pocket costs for pennies on the dollar? What do you want to bet? Everybody answers that yes. I mean, no, I don't want to learn how to eliminate my out-of-pocket costs. I bet you everybody who fills out this form says yes. And then they're like, are you prepared for your final expense? And then they ask traditional burial cremation. And then they go into, prescriptions and stuff. But I'm like, I like this one. Now, again, this may be something that you do while they're in the lobby. Or have the conversation with them. You should get at least 5 questions that's kind of in this field that you ask every time. It opens up the discussion. It makes them think of things to tell you because they don't always tell you. It astonishes me how many clients of ours will have had cancer and they don't even tell us. Or they're going to move, but they don't tell us till they've already moved. One of the questions is, has anyone in your family had cancer? So try and think, what are the 5 questions that could open up the door to help you decide what else to offer to them, what to show them. I mean, you don't want to spend all your time telling them about all these great ancillary products they can buy, and then you find out they're, diagnosed 2 days ago with cancer. And then you have to go, oh, yeah, you don't get any of these. It's too late. Last year, we had one policy that did cover pre-existing, and it is in Congress right now. They're fighting it because Congress didn't like something about it, and it made them stop selling it. It was with Morgan White. I don't know if you guys remember, we actually had quite a few people on it. It was doing exactly what it was supposed to do, helping cover costs of pre-existing conditions. And they all are losing that policy as of December 31st, but they are still in Congress fighting it. If that comes out, I will absolutely send it to you. It's a great benefit, whether it's for pre-existing or future potential. And it was fairly inexpensive. But you don't want to, spend all your time telling them how great some ancillaries are if you don't know that they've already got these. So I want to open this up. I want to know, what are questions that you, right now, I want you to take a moment and think of, what are questions that you really should know? Hi, Rob. Yep. So the issue is that the individual supplements are not allowed under current legislation. Yet we have individual other things as well. So call it an ancillary. I don't know. But yeah, so what questions do you guys want to know from your clients? What are some questions that you ask? It'll be a short session if nobody has any ideas. I mean, one of the questions you can ask is, hey, now that you're retiring, are you going to travel anywhere? Because if they're going to travel, then you tell them how their insurance works to travel. You actually give them travel insurance. I know I put you on the spot. That's why I want you to think. And you can unmute when you think. What is it that you should ask?
I never like to type all this out. So this is Jill. My big thing is typically when I'm talking to them, I'll just ask them, tell me about your health, tell me about your circumstances. And I let them talk and I'm taking notes the whole time. That typically will lead me to more questions, deeper dives into what I need to know about them.
So you say, tell me about your health.
I actually do. Can you tell me a little bit about your health, what you've experienced in the past? How's your family history? Just open-ended questions to kind of let them, whatever they're comfortable sharing.
For sure. Tell me about your health. You would hope that they would tell you. I think it's really interesting when somebody goes, I'm really healthy. And then they hand you a list of 30 prescriptions. You're like, you are not healthy, or at least your version of super healthy is not my idea of super healthy. So that's a great one because it does lead to more. All right, what's going on?
I have always found it's good when you get through asking all the health questions to ask them, do you take any medications? Because people who've said no, 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 they're taking medicine for Parkinson's, they're taking 4 medicines prescribed by their psychiatrist that they didn't mention when you ask them about health problems.
Right.
You'll find it out from the medicines.
Right. And we started asking for our intake form through FormFire puts prescriptions on there because you're right. People will say I'm healthy and they won't, and they don't like, no, I need prescriptions. I think that in their mind, unhealthy is repeated visits to the doctor to go over and over and over and over.
Mhm.
And then you find out they're bipolar. You're like, wait, that's,
Right.
Yeah,
I just had a kid
that's
that,
important.
you would have thought he'd be preferred plus, but he goes to a psychiatrist or psychologist every 2 months and he takes 4 meds. One
Right.
of them is what's prescribed for bipolar. He says he's never been told he had bipolar, but 4 meds from one doctor for one thing, you'd think is something you'd mention, but he didn't.
So yeah, exactly. So if you've got the person who's sitting there going, nope, I'm healthy. Oh, you're not on any prescriptions? Oh no, I take 3 or whatever. And somebody who's on it's funny when somebody's like, oh yeah, they're really concerned and they're on atorvastatin. And you're like, okay, that's not unhealthy. That's kind of standard, some of the simple ones. Which I always think is interesting too during open enrollment, the people who are very healthy, but they had one tiny change of something, they're the ones who want to talk to you. They want the review. And the one who's like suddenly got diagnosed with Parkinson's and has this it's stupidly expensive medication thinks, I'll just do it by myself. I don't want to bother you. And you're like, no, you should bother me. The other one should not bother me. So Roslyn says, you say, so tell me what's going on. And then you just let them talk. I say, how can I help you? And let them talk. And it is hard. I mean, one, we live in a society where communicating, we're not always the best communicators. And what do they say, right? 2 ears, 1 mouth, we should be listening. I want them to talk at the beginning. And even in my head, I'm fast, I'm a quick thinker. As they're talking, I'm already thinking about what their options. I'm like, oh, I think I know what's going to fit. But I might be wrong. So I'm going to think of a couple of these things. Just to ask, just because I don't need to already have it in my head. It's so easy to do. We've been doing this for so long. I mean, I've been doing this, marketplace stuff since it started. I already kind of know what I'm going to do, but I need to just step back and let them talk and then say, is there anything else? Sometimes we do have to play detective. You are correct.
Will you send those 2 questionnaires to us after the meeting?
Yeah, I'll send them to you. I just found them online. I didn't want to edit them so you can see where they came from. But yeah, I really like, for me, do you understand how the out-of-pocket works? after they're done talking, don't start with that. We go into pretty good details about the plans that have a $0 deductible. I talked about that, I don't know, a couple months ago. And those show great holes. Look at that $2,000 ER bill, right? So I can explain that to them that's gonna apply towards their max out of pocket. But I like that question. I kind of assume people don't know what it is, but I don't know that I've ever actually asked them and then said, okay, this is how it works. We do sometimes have to play detective to get information out of them. That's why maybe there's a quick little short questionnaire while they're sitting in the lobby, while they're waiting for you, even if it's a virtual lobby. Hey, can you answer these quick questions? So you can just see that. And it gets them thinking, because they're thinking health insurance. My job ended. I had health insurance. I need to get new health insurance. My job ended. I had dental. I need dental. They may not be thinking, some of the other things, like, are you going to travel? So Dana said we don't have a travel insurance suggestion. I don't offer this currently. And then Samantha said, United Healthcare, IMG, and Anthem Geo Blue. Exactly. If you go on to any of the forums on Facebook and say, what travel insurance? Those are two. There's a couple others out there that are great too, but they're fairly inexpensive and it's worth it. Even if you're health insurance, even if you're on Medicare that has travel, it isn't going to get you home. It's not going to bring somebody to you. It's just going to reimburse you for some medical expenses if they were overseas. So that's why I'm like, yep, that's great. You can get double reimbursement. But if you have travel insurance, at minimum, it will bring you home if something happens. There is, and if there's something in the community that's happening, I don't know, suddenly you're in a riot, you need to be evacuated. That can happen too. So I love travel insurance and it's cheap. And if they don't use it, they haven't wasted thousands of dollars. Heck, in Mexico, often it's under $50 for people. Somebody got travel insurance to Mexico for $30. I'm like, yeah, see, we hope nothing happens, but hey, you spent 30 in case something does. So what are some other ideas, some questions that you like, especially maybe some that are seasoned that you've had to get creative? One of the ones I don't like is how much money you have to spend or what's your budget. We're not car salesmen, Oh, you're looking to buy a car. What's your budget, right? I don't do that. I've had old school agents do that and Physicians Mutual. I remember them actually training me to say that. I'm like, yeah, it's not happening. I'm not going to do that because they're instantly on guard. Maybe in the old days you could do that. You just can't nowadays. We have a group of people that come from Harley Davidson, and when they retire, they have a very large amount of money set aside for health insurance. And we're always trying to compare having the reimbursement, or do they go on and take the tax credit and they don't touch the reimbursement. And I remember asking one person how much was in it, and he was like, I'm feeling a little guarded because it feels like now you're going to try and take it all. And I said, oh, I'm sorry. No, I want to know how much is in it so that how long this will last you if you pay the full price on the marketplace versus waiting to use it for Medicare. I said, I want to save you money. He's like, okay. So then he kind of told me. And he only did that because he had 6, 7 other Harley Davidson guys come talk to me. So there was already a trust that had been built. So he was kind of like, everybody tells me I should trust you, but you just asked a question, and he was kind of backing off. But when I told him why, and I went, oh, I can see how that came across as if I'm going to try and find, oh, you got 10,000. How can I spend your 10,000? And I'm like, no, you have 10,000. This is only going to last you 10 months because it's $1,000 a month for the marketplace. So when you start talking about their finances, people are going to get edgy. So if you do need to, like for the situation I'm talking about, tell them why you're asking. Are you comfortable telling me how much is in this pool of money so I can show you how long it will last on the marketplace without tax credits and how that'll work? Or, oh, you have some money specifically for critical illness. Can I ask how much? Because the average you need, what did somebody just say? something like the average person that needs something like $8,000 to 10 if they're diagnosed with cancer. And that's above your max out of pocket. That's expenses, traveling, other expenses. So you might say, oh, you have some money set aside for, in case of critical illness. Can I ask? Because the average statistic says you need 10,000. And I just want to make sure you're covered. So, if you're going to bring up money, my advice is to tell them why you're bringing up the money. So it doesn't seem like you're just trying to find all of the money to take from them. Did anybody here start at an insurance agency where they like going out door to door where you had to have a fact-finding sheet before you could just show them all? Financial advisors have huge fact-finding sheets. I think we should have fact-finding sheets. We should not be afraid to try and get the facts from people before we meet with them.
So Chris, just out of curiosity, are you not sending out when you're approaching this right now, are you saying we haven't sent out our form for them to fill out, or is this just they call us up and we just begin talking? Because typically I'm going to gather a lot once they list their doctors and medications. I'm going to probably know, at least have a great idea of what their issues are, medically speaking, before even speaking to them beyond just, let me send you this link.
So it depends on how you like to work. I'm quick on my feet, you're quick on your feet. Other agents want to look the night before at what's coming so they can see all of that. Okay, this person has diabetes. All right, I need to make sure they know which plans have the free insulin, before the appointment happens so that they can have a little bit of a game plan. It is nice to kind of know ahead of time that somebody's a world traveler. They may not tell me that, or that somebody's, that their spouse has got cancer. Maybe their spouse is on Medicare, and that doesn't necessarily affect me in that way, but it's affecting my client or potential client. So that's why I'm saying you could send these out ahead of time. It could just be part of your intake form. It could be part of your in-person conversation. Because, I don't do anything online. I don't have any, hey, I'll just enroll you without talking to somebody. I think that's happened 4 times in the 11 years that I've been doing this. Trying to look at the date. Yeah, 11 years that I've been doing this. And it was an email exchange back and forth a long time ago. So I know there are people who do things online and they would have to do this, but yeah, I'll ask this in a conversation, but I want to think, what am I missing? Because I have been doing this for 11 years and I think I know it all. What am I missing because I think I know it all? That's really what I'm saying. If you think, hey, I've got a really good system, great. And you can say, tell me about your health, tell me what's going on, all those typical ones, but that doesn't tell them whether they know what the max out of pocket is and how that works. I can't tell you how many people have come in here from retired people that say, when I ask them what they can tell you what their deductible is from their job. I had a $5,000 deductible, a $3,000 deductible. And then I say, what was your max out of pocket? And they have no idea. There wasn't one. And I'm like, no, there had to be one. So, yeah, that's what I mean. Think, what is it that maybe you're missing because you know it all, right? Yes, Samantha.
I find that one of the easiest ways to know what my client may be looking for or maybe isn't looking for because they aren't aware that it's out there, especially when I'm meeting with people that are retiring, is what are you planning on doing during retirement? Because that opens up the whole conversation of, oh, well, we plan to travel. Well, where are you going to travel? Well, we're just going to stay within the United States. We're going to, go around in our camper. Okay, so do you like to mountain bike? And that kind of just leads the conversation into, all right, well, maybe an accident policy is a good idea for you. Or I've had a couple people where, oh, I need to retire because I got to take care of my mom. She's, terminal cancer or whatever. Is that something that runs in your family? Are we concerned about that? We can talk about that either at a later date or now. So it's just, that to me is the easiest way, is just a general conversation that doesn't sound like I'm prying into personal and like too personal information. because I get a lot of different answers. I'm taking care of my family, or nope, I have nothing planned. I'm traveling, going worldwide, staying in states, things like that. That to me is the easiest way to get your answer of where can I help them the best.
Oh, absolutely. I asked somebody if they were retiring, where they were doing, and they told me they were going to take their mountain bikes. They were going to go mountain biking. And I went, and you guys are going to buy an accident policy. They kind of laughed, and I'm like, uh-huh. And they did, because it had flight stuff, and this was before the supposedly no surprise bill. But that's a great one when somebody, what are you going to do? Oh, I'm going to hang out with the grandkids. Oh, my honey-do list is this long. Honey-do list. Are you going to be climbing on ladders? Maybe we should get an accident policy. Most accidents happen at home, like that. Love that question. I don't know about you guys, that the retirees is probably most of our business on the individual side. They are so easy. We got a new a company, unfortunately, that's closing, and our receptionist found it, instantly sent a letter and cards and information to the HR person. We got our first person that called from there who came in, and he's going back and telling everybody else who's losing coverage to call us. So, if you search around, see who's closing. You can also, if you're, that's what I want this conversation is, think when you first started, how did you ask questions? What was it that you didn't know? And what can you maybe add? Because they will probably tell you their health the first meeting. Sometimes you never get, it's fun when you get that guy that's like, he doesn't want to be there, but his wife made him, or vice versa. The husband made her, and she's just like, ugh, insurance. And they won't tell you anything, right? That's usually when I ask them if she's pregnant when they're 62 on the marketplace, because that makes them laugh sometimes. But, what is something that you always get? Well, then what's something you don't? That's what I want you to think. I always get their health, but yeah, I don't know if they travel. I don't know if they know what a max is. I don't know if they have cancer in their family. Maybe they don't have cancer. Is cancer in their family? Is cancer a concern? That was, I didn't show it. I was looking at all these different forms. And one form said, is medical costs a concern? I know we kind of go, well, yeah, of course it is. But if you don't actually ask that question, is medical cost a concern? They're not going to tell you what medical cost is a concern. Now, they may tell you, and I've had this, no, not really. We've got like $20,000 saved in our HSA. Oh, that's awesome. Or, yeah, I watched my mom go through XXXX. My friend. So that's another way, are you concerned about medical costs? Because they're concerned about medical costs, because everybody is, right? That's why they have health insurance. We only have health insurance because we're concerned about medical costs. But what medical costs are they concerned about? So this is a short session, unless anybody's got any other questions. So thank you very much, everyone. You guys have a great rest of the month. Get ready for open enrollment. Talk to you later.
Thanks, Chris.
You're welcome.